Test.
That's good enough. Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out today's meeting, and hello to anybody that's watching online or reviewing this afterwards. Before we call the meeting to order in the roll, I'd like to invite Pastor Anderson up to provide an invocation and lead us in the pledge. Thank you, sir. Alrighty, the time's now, I guess, closer to 9:02. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Alrighty, we have a quorum. First item of business we have is approval of the agenda. I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. All right, first order of business we have is kind of a little bit of housekeeping. We had a hearing that was noticed in the paper for 9 a.m. that it's land use. It'll actually happen at 1 p.m. today. So I would accept a motion, a series of motions, I guess, to open, continue, and close that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on Independence 3 new and amended Metro Districts and Surface Plans.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing on Independence 3 new and amended Metropolitan Districts and Service Plans until 1 p.m. this afternoon or as soon thereafter as practical.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue this hearing to 1 p.m. or as soon thereafter as practical today. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to close a public hearing on Independence 3 new and amended Metropolitan Districts and Service Plans at this time.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the hearing at this time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, first item of real business we've got is approval of the items on consent. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve all of the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve all the items on consent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Alrighty. Elected officials, department head, staff reports. Do we have anything, Susan? Oh, please.
Susan Murphy, County Assessor. Good morning, Commissioners, and good morning, community. I just wanted to let you guys know that it's very important for property owners, if they meet the senior tax exemption requirement, to get that in before July 15th, and the VA exemption is July 1. I have put that out in numerous public papers and our website, I believe, and public information page, but it's just very important right now that if they meet the requirement to get that in. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then it's 2023 reappraisal. We'll have more information to follow regarding changes in valuation and updating the website to promote efficiencies for the property owners in our county. But just give you a heads up on what we're going to be doing and promoting for the 2023 and how we're going to inform the public moving forward on what that looks like. So
just a quick question
had.
for you.
Sure.
If you've been under the senior thing for the last years, you don't have to refile that.
That's a really good question. Once you apply for the senior tax exemption, your application is on record. You do not need to reapply every single year. One time is good, so.
Unfortunately, nobody gets younger year after year.
That's right, that's right. I
Alrighty.
think that's all I
Yeah.
had. Anything else?
I was just going to add, since you had brought it up, I know there's several bills rolling through the legislature this year that may affect actual property taxes paid, and we're keeping an eye on those closely because,
Yep, so I'll just mention briefly, there has already been some legislation passed for 2023 regarding the property assessment rate and regarding valuation due property owners' actual value. Residential, the governor has signed a bill to lower residential values by $15,000. It's really pennies on the dollar for your property taxes, just so you know, and $30,000 to commercial. And then the residential rate will go from current 2022 is 6.950 to 6.765. So there is a reduction in assessment rate. There's more pending legislation right now, but I am not sure that they are going to get things done for 2023. And if they do, it will be post, notice of value is already going out in May in postcard format to save dollars because postage is so ridiculous now. So
no, that's much appreciated.
very good questions.
All righty.
That's all I had.
All righty.
Okay, thank
Susan.
you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, I can mention something that's been on my radar. I have received a request from Rattlesnake Fire District indicating a request to continue to use certain county property that they apparently have been using for many years for training purposes, for investigations classes involving the Bureau of Land Management and Rattlesnake Fire. I think my understanding is arson investigation type training and wildland fire investigation as well. So they've requested to continue to do that. I don't think we've actually ever had a formal agreement until this request has been posted. There are certain liability issues that are obviously a concern when fire and those sorts of things are involved. It is a rather small piece of property in relation to what the county possesses. And so one of the things that we have looked at is whether allowing ownership to transfer to Rattlesnake Fire Protection District makes sense. So at this point, I am requesting the ability to kind of explore that option, and if it makes sense to move forward with transferring ownership so that the training can continue and those concerns related to liability would not be county related after that.
What do you think?
I think it's logical that we should convey title of that property to Rattlesnake, and here's the reason why, is that we, as county commissioners, have no ability to manage what the fire department will do on that particular property, even though for years we've let them do it because the title of the property belongs to the county. I think it would be wise from a liability point of view to transfer the title of that property to Rattlesnake.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think having a trained fire department is good, and if it's the piece, I think it's immediately adjacent to their firehouse on 186 or 182. So whatever, 186.
And it's non-developable anyway.
Yeah, my understanding is that you really wouldn't be able to put, a residence there, and it is, as I understand it, directly adjacent to where their department is right now. So it really would make sense, especially from a practical standpoint, since they've essentially been utilizing it for that purpose anyway.
Alrighty. All right, sounds like go ahead and take a look at that. Thanks. Alrighty. If no other staff comments that I see that aren't already set up for the discussion. So at this point, I'll open the meeting to citizen public comment. This is an opportunity for folks to bring up issues that aren't going to be addressed on the agenda today that are important to you or important to us in the county. I do ask that if you come up, keep your comments to about 3 minutes. Would like your name and address so for the minutes, and then we won't get into question and answer back and forth, but we'll certainly take your input, and once all public comment is done, if we have responses, we'll give them to you then. But, so with that, I would open up for public comment. Ma'am. Alrighty. Oh, if there's is the list up there?
My name is Sunny Mills, and I appreciate being given the time to address the XL Power Pathway. Of course, we're very concerned, even though we don't have the power pathway right in our front yard. But what concerns us the most is fire danger. And you were just talking about that, and meeting regulations by the United States. Our federal government has put out regulations that we have to comply with, the state has to comply with. And I have, my husband and I have both given our comments that the lines need to be buried. We've gone to public meetings, I've talked to them on the phone, and the response is they don't want to do it. It's expensive. And so I composed with my husband an email to all 3 of the commissioners, which last night at 10 o'clock I realized I had misaddressed, so I resent it to you. But it's important. I also give several professors, people with electrical engineering backgrounds who are not part of XL, who have attended an international engineering symposium on burying lines. This was one of the major topics of the symposium, whether to bury lines or not. And there were a number of reasons for it. We are making a major expenditure in our grid system, and which we haven't done for decades. We also have a completely different picture internationally. And my husband has worked as a contract and engineering manager for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for 40 years. He was area engineer in Basra, Iraq. He was area engineer in Afghanistan. He was resident engineer in Kabul, Afghanistan. He was, I'm submitting the memo of all of his wonderful background. He spent $2 billion of U.S. money on government contracts and understands them thoroughly. He understands why XL does not want to spend the money to put this underground. However, at this symposium, many engineers said it is worth the money. Why? Because security. Let's just talk about security for a minute.
Commissioners, that's 3 minutes.
My 3 minutes are up? Okay.
Yes,
Security is a big issue. When lines are underground, it protects us militarily from attack, from domestic and foreign terrorists. In addition, it is maintenance free. Although we haven't had very many buried lines, and they've only been there for 40 years, they think that it'll last much longer than 100.
Ma'am, I'll have to ask you.
And one other point before I finish is that lines create a magnetic field that is medically dangerous for anyone living even within 50 feet or 100 feet of them, especially this size KVA lines. And by burying them, there is no medical problem. It can be completely controlled. So with those three things, and then I would like to submit my email. I
did receive it last.
Okay, there's an
week, the other two.
attachment, and if it could be put into the minutes, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, actually, I'll ask that go to CDS. We're still pending an application on this, so we'll make sure all that material stays in one place. Yeah. Understood. Thank you, ma'am. All righty. Just before we go on, is there anybody that had comments that weren't related to the XL power line? Okay, just wanted to make sure. So as we go forward, just to kind of pin where we are, the county has still yet to receive an application. My understanding, Greg, if they haven't even reached out to try to schedule a pre-app meeting. We are aware that folks are working around the county landmen for XL, trying to look at potential routes and get people to lease right of way. We're aware of it, but what they're saying to people, I guess we'll find out. But I just want to be clear that we haven't received an application at this point, or even a request for the planning department to meet for a pre-application meeting. So with that, who would like to go next? Ma'am.
It's just me.
Oh, okay. Well.
Okay.
It's Ms. G.
I am Charlene G. I live at 14022 Highway 86. I'm right in the line of fire. And I just want people to know, I didn't know about this till several weeks ago. And we've had to run people off of our property that are taking pictures. My neighbor walked out, they got in their truck, and we have no trespassing signs up. Because you said, keep everybody off, don't let them come on if, they're not supposed to be there, but they're pretty bold. And I just want people to know, I've worked my entire life for this place. I am by myself at this point. I have 3 dogs, and I'm taking care of my mom's place. And my brother and sister are in that with me, but I do have 40 acres right off of there. It affects my entire family because that is their inheritance. And with these power lines, it destroys the property. And they're right at my front door. They're right at my neighbor's front door. They're not willing to pay anything to come across there. They offered my neighbor $2,000 for the whole front of his 5 acres. And he moved out here to get away from all of this. And then he hasn't been here, a year? And they're taking his place. And the poles will be right at his front door and right at my front door, and they're every 900 feet. If I know you haven't received an application yet, but I hope and I pray that you do not approve it because it's affecting so many people along 86. My neighbors, there's neighbors, they're going right over the top of people's houses with these power lines, which affect health, like she said. That affects your health. It affects all the animals. We have bald eagles, we have golden eagles, we have fox, we have coyotes, we have mountain lions, a bear passes through every now and again. We have elk, muley deer, badgers, ground squirrels. It affects everything in the area. So I'm praying that they don't, an alternate route, I don't know what the alternate route is, but they're coming right through my place, destroys the whole front of my property, the whole front of my neighbor's property. unbelievable that they can just come in and take what they want. They offered him $2,000 for the whole front of his property. And they're coming on the property taking pictures without permission. And that's not good. They're pretty bold. I don't know what else to say. I probably have a million things, but I know you don't want to hear them. You probably already heard them.
Oh, I do appreciate that.
Yes, but that's my whole inheritance. That's my whole life going down the drain.
Now, again,
And I'm 72 years old. I'm tired of working. I'm still working for the Comanche Vet Clinic to pay for things. I mean, it's unbelievable what and we get nothing from it, nothing, except they're stealing our land.
thank you, ma'am. Now, I can say, I'm not an attorney, I can't give legal advice, but if your property's posted and people are entering it, order them to leave. If they do not, call the sheriff and have them trespassed. Yeah. And I'm not, again, sure there's people better at this than me, but if there's a way to notice Excel that you don't want people on your property, to reinforce that, I think you can trespass immediately if somebody shows up. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak this morning on this? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'll be quick. I'd just probably like to second what the nice lady that spoke previously said. I attended the last commissioners meeting.
Could we just get your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Brad Ray.
The clerk is madly signaling.
Brad Ray. My wife Nicole and I live at 17112 Highway 86. And our property is directly impacted by this. We were both at the last commissioners meeting 2 weeks ago. And at that time, we had not heard anything from Excel except what we heard at the open houses here at the county. However, within 2 hours after that meeting, I was contacted by a nice, cheery, feminine voice who notified me that my properties would be affected and that I would be contacted, and she would actually like to talk with me about how this is going to go down and what to expect. I informed her what I knew about the situation from what you all had told us, that there had been no permit granted, no permit applied for, that her conversation with me was premature, and that any conversation that was going to take place from then on is going to be with an attorney. She was nice enough about it and hung up. 2 days after that, I had a contractor in my driveway, and I've got a fairly long driveway, and I drove down to it on my tractor and found him kind of snooping around. He was wearing an orange vest and a hard hat, was driving a white pickup utility truck, not an electrical utility truck. Turns out the guy was from Kansas and is a contractor from a company called PAC, I believe. That was the name of that was what was on the side of his driver's door. It's a Kansas, said he was with the Kansas Earth Moving Company, and he was there to scout out the ground for where they were going to bring in their heavy equipment and cranes, dozers, etc. on my property. I assume he also looked at our neighbors' properties on both sides. I told him, again, I told him he was quite premature in this process and he just better get the heck off the place. So they are brazen about this process. In talking with the lady that was said to be representing Excel, she indicated to me that, well, that permitting process is just a formality, that they would be submitting that first of this month. Apparently you haven't seen it yet, obviously, but they were going to do that. So they act like there's no question that they're going to be submitting it.
I don't doubt they'll submit, but again, how they're portraying what their level of authority is and what they can and can't do, I do find disturbing. And I don't know. I guess my thought at this point. Bart, if we could provide a letter from us to Excel, just stating that we are concerned about their agents entering private properties without permission. And on behalf of our citizens, if they intend to do so, they should reach out and coordinate individually with the property owner or risk trespass. I understand what they want to do, and we understand what authorities they do and they don't have. I mean, right now, they have a preferred route. I know what they prefer, but this just becomes very heavy-handed in what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, I know they'd very much like to submit an application that shows that the majority of the route that they prefer is already under lease or that they're in negotiations. And what they want to do business-wise, I understand, but it is, the methods by which they're using disturb me greatly. So, sir.
Good morning. Dale Varner, 36159 Winchester Road, Elizabeth. And I've recently retired, spent 40 years in the field of electronics, and I know some people don't agree with or don't believe the issues with EMI and the field created by power lines and those types of power sources. And it is a real health problem for people, for animals, and I guess in a time long ago, and not too far from here, I actually coached soccer in Founders, and the power lines run right through Founders, yeah, right over, almost over the soccer fields there, and they have a sign there for the park, and it's got the big metal studs that hold the sign up, and you could hold a Pepsi can or whatever, a pop can right up 3 inches and get at least a 3 to 4 inch spark from the power lines through the wood. I mean, that field is, you can't see it, but it's real and it's there, and it tries to find a path to ground, okay? And if the wires are buried, all those issues and many other issues, I mean, the scenic issues, all that stuff, the maintenance issues, all that stuff goes away if they're underground. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have any other comment at this time? Okay. Truly do appreciate folks coming out and telling us what's going on. I think that helps give us a more complete picture of what's going on, and this issue is one that's front and center in my mind, and I think I won't speak for my fellow commissioners, but I believe it is for them as well. So I guess that's all I've got. And again, anything that we hear, we will make it public as soon as we hear it as well. So,
Just a general statement in that, thank you very much for coming and telling us about your contacts with XL so that we have a better idea of what's going on behind the curtain, so to speak. It's very clear that, as Chris has said, they have not made an application. And if you go through the history of some of those things that they put online, they've had many, many routes. And they seem to have picked this one, but they've never talked to us directly about it. So we will evaluate their application when it comes. And when I say evaluate, I mean analyze it. And one of the things that we did here not too long ago was updated our 1041 regulations. And there's a provision in those regulations where if we have identified issues, we can request we can require that they provide us with a study on that very subject at their cost, but we have to approve who does it.
I'll just echo, I agree with my fellow commissioners, and I do appreciate everybody letting us know what's going on out there. Just encourage you to stand your ground, stand up for your property rights, and if there's people on your property, let the proper people know so they can take the proper action there. Big proponent of property rights. If you don't want them on your property, tell them so.
All righty, thanks much. Okay, so with that, I'll close public comment at this time. If you want to stick around, please do. If not, thank you for coming out. First item up we have for discussion is a draft resolution in opposition of House Bill 23-1165, which would allow counties to ban shooting on private property. And I think Dallas's last comments on property rights are a good segue into this. The bill itself is written to be permissive, but it provides authorities to counties to do some things that counties shouldn't be doing, and that is an outright ban on shooting on private property. The bill's truly not necessary. The county already has considerable powers regarding protection of life, health, and safety. The state has regulation in effect, or statute in effect, that does allow counties to allow shooting on private land in shooting galleries. Statute didn't define what shooting galleries were. We took the step a couple of years ago of defining that for the county, and that was essentially the firing line, the lane you fire down, and the backstop had to sit within setbacks on property, and projectiles could not leave your property. We have local ordinances regarding noise nuisances, and that can be enforced by the sheriff, again, and statutorily and regulatorily. The shooting gallery piece is already in place. This piece of legislation, from what I gather, and I sit on the legislative steering committee for our Association of Counties. This was brought forward by, I believe, officials in Clear Creek County, and it was focused on one problem they were having with one resident in a subdivision of about 1/3 acres. And then, so it was, I'll open up for public comment after we've kind of had some discussion, but so anyway, it was kind of a piece of legislation that is a solution in search of a problem, because there is already quite a few authorities that the counties have to present to prevent and provide safety for folks. You know, this is one of those ones where I think we always have to tread lightly, because the right to bear arms is a protected right in the Constitution, and what's in here is much more than the least burdensome way of addressing the problem that's out there, and that's generally the test when you impose a restriction on people, that it be the least burdensome and practical way to address the matter. So CCI, our Association of Counties, has already taken a position against this. My recommendation with this resolution was that we add our individual voices, a county, to that. So I don't know if you guys have any comments.
Just a quick question. Do we, what action do we need to take as county commissioners?
Okay. In this case, I'm just recommending that we sign this resolution opposing, and then within that resolution, the actions that were recommended were that we publicly announce our opposition, that the bill is both unnecessarily and potentially harmful to our citizens should future boards choose to impose the restrictions allowed by the bill. It asks our planning department and planning commission to relook our current regulatory guidance to make sure that it does provide the authorities that we do need to ensure the safety of our citizens. And then this has already passed the House, has not gone to the Senate to call on the Senate to vote against this. There were 2 Senate sponsors. One of the 2 has dropped off the bill as well, and that was the gentleman, the senator that actually represents Clear Creek County that initially asked for this. So I don't know if it will pass even the Senate, but there's quite a few bills out there this year that address and perhaps infringe upon people's individual rights. I personally believe our first role in government is to protect people's individual rights. Our second is to provide services efficiently and use their tax dollars wisely, and thirdly, to improve quality of life where we can. But our basis of authorities as a government is to protect people's rights. So that's where I'm at. Ma'am, if you had something you'd like to say? I would ask that you. Yeah, oh, okay.
You talk so softly.
Oh.
Neighborhood with a particular resident who, through fire practice, sparked a fire with a ricochet on a week that was extremely dry, and everyone was warned, no outdoor fires, so forth. And my husband, having been in Vietnam and drill sergeant, said, of course you don't fire a weapon on a day like this. This same resident just shot a dog of my neighbors. Their properties abut, and he's facing $10,000 in vet fees. I have to tell you, I have 2 dogs, and both of them have gotten out at different times. One was hit by a car, and we had to pay for surgery on his neck, and she's now 11, and, she's getting run. The young male that we have got out, and we have wonderful neighbors, most of them, called me and said, Billy's out, and it took us a while to figure out how he was getting out, and we fixed it. But he got out several times, and somebody could have shot him, and we could have had $10,000 worth of bills as well. I don't know all that went on, but I know that's crazy, that this guy shot his dog. Didn't kill him, which is probably, he feels, he should be patted on the back for. And my feeling is, what the hell? What was he thinking? He can't walk up to his neighbor's house, knock on the door, and say, what's your number? I'll call you when your dog gets out. So I'm not sure what all is in this bill, but he called the sheriff, and the sheriff did nothing. Well, he was on the other guy's property. All the neighbors are going, yeah, well, he was on the other guy's property. Yeah, we get it. But we don't get the inhumanity of it. We don't get the $10,000 bill that this guy cannot pay right now. And so all of us are putting our money in to help him pay his vet bills. It's disgusting. And I don't know what you have to say to that, but.
Okay. Other than, thank you for bringing up the issue, but it's a little off topic of this resolution, so. So if you guys are okay with it, I'll just go ahead and read the resolution.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, please do.
I just want to thank Commissioner Richardson for putting this together and keeping us up to date on the progress of these different gun bills going through the legislature. This one, when you look at the history of it, on a particular lot, and you're going to try and put it on against the whole state, I'm never in favor of group punishment, and that's certainly what this bill looks like. Fully support Second Amendment, the Second Amendment rights, property rights for people to to discharge and shoot and have fun target practicing on their own property. So I'm fully supportive of this resolution.
Yeah, I will add the commissioner from Clear Creek that was present at our steering committee meeting, the ones that had proposed this, made the note that, yeah, they had noise ordinances too, but they were really hard to enforce. And I get that, but when you're potentially stripping people of their individual rights, it shouldn't be easy. I mean, they have a tool to use, they just choose not to because it was hard. Ma'am, the comments over on this. Okay. Again, this has nothing to do with individual liability. It's all about whether counties should or should not have the authority to just do an outright ban of exercising your Second Amendment rights on your own private property. Absolutely, ma'am. Alrighty.
I agree with everything you've said here. It's, and I'm an immigrant and all of that other good stuff, but the whole point is those individual rights are very important.
So the resolution reads, and I'll skip the administrative stuff at the beginning, but it's Resolution 23 to be determined, protecting citizens' rights to self-defense and opposing House Bill 23-1165, county authority to prohibit firearms discharge. And it reads, whereas Amendment 2 of the U.S. Constitution states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas in the 2008 Heller decision, the Supreme Court held that though the first clause indicated a purpose, it in no way expands or restricts the operative clause that protect the uninfringed right of individuals to both keep and bear arms. And whereas in the 2010 McDonald decision, the Supreme Court held that the right of the people to keep and bear arms applies to state and local governments, as well as to the federal government. And whereas in the 22 Bruin decision, the Supreme Court held that the constitutionality of gun laws will be based on whether the plain text of the Second Amendment protects the activities and the laws are regulating. And whereas Section 3 of Article 2 of the Colorado Constitution, entitled Inalienable Rights, states all persons have certain natural, essential, and inalienable rights, among which may be reckoned the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and of seeking and obtaining their safety and happiness. And whereas Section 13, Article 2 of the Colorado Constitution, entitled The Right to Bear Arms, states that the right of no person to keep and bear arms in defense of his home, person and property, or in the aid of civil power when thereto legally summoned, shall be called into question. Excuse me, it's lengthy. And whereas under existing state law, a Board of County Commissioners may not designate as unlawful the discharge of firearms in shooting galleries on private grounds or in residences under circumstances that do not endanger persons and properties. And whereas the Elbert County zoning regulations define a private shooting gallery as an area intended for non-commercial firearms use on residential property in which the firing lines, lanes, and target line and backstop are designated, and that it is a minimum of 100 feet from the property lines. And whereas the zoning regulations designate shooting galleries as a use by right on property zoned agricultural and as an accessory use to a residence in all other zone districts with parcels over 1 acre in size. And whereas the BOCC recognizes that individual communities may enact covenants, conditions, and restrictions that govern the use of certain pieces of real estate in a given community, which are voluntarily accepted by property owners in those communities. And whereas Elbert County Ordinance 18-3 regulates disorderly conduct and noise pollution and establishes penalties and violations. And whereas 1165, if enacted into law, would allow local governments to increase restrictions or infringements in a manner in which the citizens of Elbert County to choose to bear arms, and whereas 1165 specifically allows for a ban on outdoor shooting galleries, and whereas training and practice are important to ensuring the safety of firearms and the exercise of inalienable rights to self-defense, defense of property, protection of livestock, and come to the aid of civil authorities in rural areas, and whereas it should not be necessary for gun owners to have paid membership in a private gun club or pay to use a private facility in order to maintain firearms proficiency, and whereas the BOCC has previously declared its faith in our citizens' ability to make good decisions regarding their own health and safety and the health and safety of their families and neighbors, therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Elbert County does hereby publicly announce its opposition to HB 231165 as both unnecessary and potentially harmful to our citizens, should future boards choose to impose the restrictions allowed by this bill, and further direct the Planning Commission to draft language that strengthens protections for individuals who choose to construct private shooting galleries on their property, thereby requiring public hearings in future boards to choose to enact the restrictions of the type envisioned in HB 231165, and finally call on the members of the Colorado Senate to vote against the legislation and the governor to veto it if it reaches his desk. And that's based on the speed at which many of these bills are moving through the House. I know this was on discussion, but I believe we should move forward and vote to adopt this, but that's my...
Mr. Chairman, do we need to move that to an action item? Or designate it as an action item?
I think we can just take action to approve it at this point, if you guys are both in agreement. Yeah, I would accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 23 to be determined, protecting citizens' right to self-defense and opposing HB 23-1165, county authority to prohibit firearms discharge.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. While we're on this, and it's a related subject, there's about 3 other bills specifically related to firearms use that are kind of speeding through the House right now, and Senate, and likely will be voted on, if not by both chambers, at least by one, prior to our next meeting. So I'd just kind of like to have kind of your thoughts on whether we should kind of move forward, if not by resolution, at least by letter, state our objections to several of them are concerning. A 3-day waiting period was heard in the House Monday. It passed committee with all the Republican members and 2 Democrats voting against. So there's kind of some bipartisan support to end that. There's a assault weapons ban, loosely described as such, that was dropped on Friday that'll probably be heard soon. Amongst many strange things in there, it bans pistols over a certain weight, which, I mean, there's some things that are just, will never hold up in court in that, but it also, at the end, increases the age at which somebody can buy a firearm of any type to 21. I mean, currently federal law allows somebody 21 and older to purchase a handgun, but long guns can be purchased at 18 or older. The age majority in Colorado is 17. Somebody can be out on their own, but legally barred from defending themselves with a firearm until they're 21, which I think is unconscionable. There's some changes pending to the red flag bill that we opposed when it originally passed, and those changes include adding the number of people that can submit for a extreme risk protection order, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it expands the time. It actually, in the original bill, it doesn't give any timelines of when you last had contact with the person. This one establishes that within the last 6 months, the person making the request had to have had contact with the person. So you're talking a couple that broke up 6 months ago, a psychologist that may have interviewed somebody 6 months ago, suddenly determining that today I feel the guy's an imminent risk, or gal is an imminent risk. They're just fraught with really problematic pieces and language, and if they'd been dropped sooner, we would have had them to consider today. But I think all of them are worthy of opposing, just to raise the issues that are clear in people's minds. I mean, we totally understand that there may be an epidemic of violence in the state or the nation, but the first response shouldn't be to strip law-abiding citizens of their rights. So,
I agree, and I'd just, whatever we can do to go on record opposing these egregious overreaches by the state, I'm in support of, and standing up for our county's right to keep and bear arms, I think is vital and important and something that we ought to do.
I agree.
So, again, I think they're available to all of us, but we may have some letters that on these subjects that we ratify at our next meeting, just to be able to stay ahead of the speed at which the legislature is considering these things. Thanks. So, moving on, Mark, we have discussion on support of the Great Outdoors Colorado grant application for Parks and Open Space Plan for the county.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, other elected officials, staff, citizens. I'm Mark Denreader, Director of Community and Economic Development for Elbert County. I'm here today, as the chair indicated, I'm seeking support from the board on a resolution for a Great Outdoors Colorado, GOCO, grant application for an Elbert County Parks, Trails, and Open Space Plan project. The Community and Economic Development Group submitted a concept paper to GOCO last month for its planning and capacity grant. We are pursuing $40,000 for this grant. We were one of 16 projects, in fact, that were selected to move forward to the full application phase of this process. And the application deadline is right around the corner on March 20th. And as part of this application, GOCO actually requires that a governing body provides a resolution in support of the application. So at this time, I respectfully request that you consider moving this to an action item in this meeting, if possible, due to the timeliness of the request. We do have a resolution crafted and presented as part of your packet for today's meeting.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I see the fiscal impact on the county. The grant is $40,000, and the cost for the actual plan is $80,000. I assume this was planned for in the budget, and we're all good to go on that.
Yes, sir, Commissioner. This has been approved, and as part of the budget, as you indicated, it is a total approximate of $80,000 to complete this project. Again, this is a request from GOCO for $40,000. We'll also be seeking grant funding to supplement from the Office of Economic Development and International Trade for also a planning and capacity grant through them. In addition to that, a grant through the Department of Local Affairs, DOLA.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think this is one of those items that's been on the back burner and then brought to the front burner and back again over the years. And I mean, as you know, we do know the county is growing, and I think ensuring that we've got a good plan in place to provide for recreation and enjoyment of our open spaces is very important. If we can do that with a good chunk of other people's money, that's good for the county. And generally these plans do allow us to have a much firmer base to seek further grant options and actually, probably just most importantly, to kind of evaluate opportunities as they arise. You know, there's always a million things that we can do, but having something that kind of gives us guardrails of, does this move us forward in what we're trying to accomplish, or just seem like it's a nice thing to do at the time, I think is really important. So, and yeah, I guess 2 weeks from now we'll be well beyond the 20th. So I'll open it up for comment in a minute, but I do think we probably ought to proceed and get the resolution signed, just so we do get access to the funds, as Commissioner Schroeder pointed out, or you answered, that this was planned and it's budgeted. So essentially, this was approved essentially when the budget was passed in December, that we would seek this. So, yeah.
One of the things I'd like to see in the study is, when the time comes, is that is there a way to integrate the open space from various subdevelopments? And when people make presentations to get their subdevelopment approved, if there was an integration of the open space, that would be useful.
Thank you. We'll certainly take that into account, Commissioner. And as you know, this particular plan would tie directly to the 2018 Comprehensive Plan and to our 2022 Economic Development Strategic Plan. And in that, it definitely indicates that there is an importance to identify and determine where there's potential, especially with trail linkages, et cetera, between various communities in the county.
I think probably first step to apply if the grant's received, and I guess before an RFP would go out, we'd plan on having a workshop just to kind of talk through those types of things, so we know we're asking for the right things to be looked at. And I'm assuming this will be a component of the overall comprehensive plan, so that'll kind of tie to the land use piece. Cool. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this? Okay, seeing none, and based on the timing, I would accept a motion to
Mr. Chair, I move we approve Resolution 23 to be determined grant application from State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund for Elbert County Parks, Trails, and Open Space Plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution that would support this grant application. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And our third discussion item today was Shane Pines to kind of talk through our final draft of the Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Good morning, Commissioner. Shane Pines, Emergency Management. An update on this multi-hazard hazard mitigation plan that is expected every 5 years per the expectations of FEMA. This plan was done primarily by a consultant by the name of Synergy Disaster Recovery. They worked with us, a variety of stakeholders and agencies and government entities within the county, to accumulate their expertise and their experiences within the county so that we have a better understanding of the hazards that are posed to Elbert County. In addition to that, cybersecurity is something that's new as opposed to years past from this hazard mitigation plan. With regards to the impact on the county, this plan truly serves as a roadmap of opportunity and of priorities for the county and its various stakeholders to be able to look at and assess what can be done to lessen the severity of certain disasters that are posed to the county. We're not necessarily expected or mandated to take any of these actions. It serves truly as a roadmap. The current impact on the county to date is expected to be over $7,000 in compensation to our consultant who provided the facilitation and the writing of this plan. It's worth noting, though, that over $3,000 in in-kind contributions was contributed for various agencies and stakeholders within the community by contributing their time and their expertise to this plan and its process. With regards to anything else, we're probably looking at an adoption within the next BOCC meeting or the one following that. We have gotten some comments back from FEMA. It's nothing that is going to necessarily hold us back, and we are going back and forth with them to address their comments at this time.
Yeah, I know it's lengthy.
Yes, sir, it is.
And thorough, and I do think it gives us some good guidance towards the future, especially, again, I think the Marshall Fire was mentioned by somebody earlier, and I think gives some good guidance going forward on how to work hazard mitigation into our zoning and subdivision planning as well. So I think that's an important step. You guys don't object, I think we can go ahead and put this on for approval or adoption, whatever the right term would be at our next meeting. And then if we have any questions or comments, we'll get them out to you rapidly so they can be integrated.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Shane. Alrighty, moving on to action items for the day. The first we have is consideration of the minutes from our last meeting on February 22nd. I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of February 22, 2023, and dispense with reading of those minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes from February 22nd and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Alrighty, the next item is consideration of adopting the 2023 Employer Compensation Plan. Sean?
Yes, we are ready to adopt the final draft of the Employee Compensation Plan for 2023. We've given the department heads enough time to give feedback. The feedback that I received was things that we can work out over the year as we continue to build on this program. This is a great opportunity to put in place a baseline that we can build on and improve the staff pay grades, benefits, and wage studies moving forward.
Questions?
I think the most important thing in this employee compensation plan is consistency, so that we evaluate people in a consistent and favorable manner.
Well, that's a good point. Basically, we have identified that there are obstacles, obviously, to recruiting in some areas, and our HR consultant right now is doing a survey of about 20 positions, and when we get the results back from those 20 positions, obviously we'll know what our next steps are.
And I think related, I guess our permanent HR manager will be starting on the 20th, I understand.
Yes, we do have a full-time HR manager coming on the 20th.
Thanks for that. And I do, having been part of the working group that developed this, and Susan, you were part of that as well, I do appreciate everybody's input in constructing it. And I do think it's a fairly lengthy document on kind of the policy part, but I think it clarifies a lot and will help ensure consistency across the county in a lot of things. In the past, we've kind of loosely bundled cost of living increases and merit increases together in one pool. They were applied differently in different areas. And this gets us also, puts us definitely in compliance with the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act, which kind of is what spawned this effort, was to make sure that we were in statutory compliance with that bill. So, is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to adopt the plan as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the 2023 Employee Compensation Plan as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the 2023 Employee Compensation Plan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item we got is consideration of adopting our 2024 budget goals. Dallas.
There's been no changes to this document since 2 weeks ago when it was on discussion. I did send it out to all the elected department heads. Received no feedback, so I guess they're in agreement with what's in there. At least there was nothing they disagreed with vehemently. But this is just a document as we go forward developing the 2024 budget that these are some goals that we'd like to see met from our side here. And as we work with the Budget Steering Committee and the different elected department heads putting together that budget, that these is kind of just a guiding document. So I believe it's ready for approval.
Thanks for taking that on. Do we have any public comment on this? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to adopt the 2024 budget goals as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion we approve the 2024 budget goals as presented.
Just a comment, implementing these goals is very important. I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We've had discussion, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We've adopted the 2024 budget goals. Okay. So for board planning, we'll have the adoption of the multi-hazard mitigation plan, and I probably change the title of that every time I speak it, but we'll likely have some letters regarding various legislative items to ratify. I think we have our standard update from Public Works on the construction of the Public Works facility, or excuse me, the facilities team on the construction of the Public Works facility. Is there anything else you'd like to have added at this time? Anything you can do? Okay, that gets us going. So with that, it is 10:07. We're in recess. We'll reconvene here at 1 p.m. for land use items. We have 2 items to consider today. One is a amendment to the PUD governing the zoning of Independence, and the second are some changes proposed in new metro districts and service plans that also pertain to Independence. So we'll see folks back here at 1. Thank you.